Another question coming in. What do you think about Portugal signing up to the WEF's one-size-fits-all vaccine passport, mandatory vaccine scheme rollout? Question mark. Has mandatory health been useful to all-cause mortality figures from feel-good astrology? That's Mrs. M, of course. What do you have to say about that? Are you aware of this, Doc, that there are 4 European countries that are piloting a new vaccine passport, which I think comes to Portugal? Portugal is one of those countries in November, I believe it is.
Okay. This isn't the first time there have been mandatory vaccine passports. The intrepid and older travellers amongst us will remember the good old yellow fever passport that used to
Happy times.
Yeah, and they have their place. And actually, I think, given the outbreaks of some of the more exotic viruses out of sub-Saharan Africa, for example, which there's been yet another one discovered recently, and there are cases of West Nile fever in Western Europe and in America.
Hold on a minute, isn't that a nightclub in Walsall?
yeah, that too. That's West Saturday Night Fever, I think. But yeah,
sorry, I'm getting my fevers mixed up here.
But so I'm not against mandatory vaccine passports, and of course it will help with the control of the spreading of disease. And why shouldn't countries be able to check that people coming in do not have or are protected against illnesses with serious public health outcomes? So
well, yeah, I take your point absolutely, and we kind of grew up with that, didn't we? That was how it worked. And I remember going to India about, I don't know, 15 years ago, and actually when I went to the Far East as a teenager, part of going abroad was having jabs, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was synonymous. It, like, duty free, jabs, and going abroad. And I remember 15 years ago, I went to India. No one asked me. There was nothing. I think it was advisory, which I personally approve of, but it wasn't mandatory. But this is a whole new level, isn't it? To have a passport for daily life within the country does take it to a new level. And we've got a new Facebook group, which is about Portuguese news, GMPTV news and information. And we have been following this particular this news article that emerged in the Portugal resident and in other communities that are particularly interested in this idea. And already the records are there already, aren't they? As part of your Portuguese health record, you're alerted. If you're on any kind of vaccine schedule here in Portugal, you'll be alerted by SNS or told by your family doctor. So that's why I think some people are thinking, hold on a minute, well, this is pushing it a little bit too far. And we, so it's not just going to an exotic country with an outbreak of an exotic disease, as you put it. It's like, it's back to the COVID days, isn't it? Of like, you can't come in this place if you can't show your medical records, which is, I personally resent that. And I prefer, as T-Duck's saying here, my body, my choice with this. But it is interesting. I mean, so presumably, in theory, you're not against it, but to take it to that daily domestic.
It depends on how much it's designed to control everyday life.
Yes. Yeah.
And obviously, sorry, let me just read that.
I believe that the idea is leading to the World Economic Forum having authority to forcibly vaccinate.
Well, obviously, I'm not in favor of that. WEF standing for World Economic Forum.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Does this come from the WEF or does it come from the WHO?
I think both, as it turns out. Yes, they do seem to work together, according to some accounts about this. And Emma adding as well, showing what you have is one thing, being controlled is another. And I would make the point that it's fun. It's interesting, isn't it? It's, with for example, when we're talking about smoking, you can go to war, but you can't smoke. You can't vote, and so there is a sort of a relativity about certain things, and it does seem a misplaced relativity that you carry a vaccine passport when there are so many. If it was really about health, there are so many other things people might check up on, mightn't they? They might say, well, you can't come in this McDonald's if you're obese. That might be a more effective health intervention if we are going to go for that. Totalitarian.
I prefer just to ban McDonald's, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, there are other things you might choose other than this if you were truly serious about health.